Surely that's not possible.
Good. You're finally here. The Jarl's been waiting.
So what happened at the watchtower? Was the dragon there? I knew I could count on Irileth, but there must be more to it than that. Dragonborn? What do you know about the Dragonborn? So it's true. The Greybeards really were summoning you. Masters of the way of the voice. They live in seclusion high on the slopes of the throat of the world. The Dragonborn is said to be uniquely gifted in the voice. The ability to focus your vital essence into a thum or shout. If you really are Dragonborn, they can teach you how to use your gift. You heard the summons. What else could it mean? The Greybeards.
Didn't you hear the thundering sound as you returned to Whiterun? That was the voice of the Greybeards, summoning you to High Hrothgar. This hasn't happened in centuries, at least. Not since Tiber Septim himself was summoned when he was still Talos of Atmora.
Rungar, calm yourself. What does any of this Nord nonsense have to do with our friend here? Capable as he may be, I don't see any signs of him being this, what, Dragonborn?
Nord nonsense? Why, you puffed up ignorant. These are our sacred traditions that go back to the founding of the First Empire.
Hrongar, don't be so hard on Avenich.
I meant no disrespect, of course. It's just that, what do these Greybeards want with him?
That's the Greybeards' business, not ours. Whatever happened when you killed that dragon, it revealed something in you, and the Greybeards heard it. If they think you're Dragonborn, who are we to argue? You'd better get up to High Hrothgar immediately. There's no refusing the summons of the Greybeards. It's a tremendous honor. I envy you know, to climb the 7,000 steps again. I made the pilgrimage once. Did you know that? High Hrothgar is a very peaceful place. Very disconnected from the troubles of this world. I wonder,
given everything you know,
what's going on
and
here.
by analyzing what I've given you so far, I want you to incorporate these new ideas into the narrative and then read the entirety of these books back to me, starting with the summary and chapter outlines.
I name you Thane of Whiterun. It's the greatest honor that's within my power to grant. I assign you Lydia as a personal housecarl, and this weapon from my armory to serve as your badge of office. I'll also notify my guards of your new title. Wouldn't want them to think you're part of the common rabble, now would we? We are honored to have you as Thane of our city, Dragonborn. Back to business, Porrentus. We still have a city to defend.
Yes, my lord.
May the gods watch over your battles, friend. What is it that you need? You have my attention.
Based on your instructions, I have incorporated the new ideas about the Four Horsemen into the narrative's core summary. Here is the complete text of The Great Divide, starting with the revised summary and chapter outlines. The Great Divide, revised summary. 50 years after a global catastrophe triggered by an EMP devastated society and erased the intricate web of technology for the vast majority, the world is slowly being reshaped according to the insidious plan of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. These individuals were the subjects of a pre-EMP genetic engineering experiment designed to be pure psychopaths and do-number evil automatons. Each one embodies the essence of a different biblical horseman, a role amplified by a specific physiological and psychological affliction aligned with a see, hear, speak, do no evil metaphor. Famine is blind, war is deaf, pestilence is mute, and death is defined by a paralyzed will. This makes them the perfect instruments of control, as their actions are devoid of the emotional and moral empathy that their respective senses would normally provide. They, and those they deem essential to their vision, are the only ones who retain and utilize advanced technology, wielding it as a tool of control in a world otherwise stripped bare. Amidst this technologically impoverished world, a man named Kevin awakens in a sealed, sterile vault with complete amnesia and, crucially, no AI implant and no technological enhancements, a stark anomaly. As he struggles to understand his identity in the unfamiliar natural world outside, fleeting, inexplicable sensations and intuitive nudges, echoes of a deeper connection to a fundamental force he doesn't understand, begin to stir within him. He encounters Alara, his first contact in this technologically fractured world. Alara knows that before the EMP, certain individuals, often those who were subjects of advanced and potentially dangerous experiments, were kept in secure vaults. Because of Kevin's mysterious awakening 50 years after the EMP in such a vault, and his complete lack of any discernible past or technology, Alara harbors a strong suspicion that he is connected to those pre-EMP events, whatever they may have been, and potentially to the technologically privileged horsemen. Together, Kevin and Alara navigate a landscape where survival often depends on resourcefulness, and where the stark absence of technology for most underscores the power of the select few who possess it. His journey becomes one of discovering his lost past and the nature of this silent control, while grappling with Alara's suspicion, and the faint whispers within him hint at a larger destiny. The story explores themes of identity, memory, the nature of reality, the dangers of unchecked scientific advancement, and the unequal distribution of power, the complexities of trust in a desperate world, and the resilience of the human spirit in a world stripped bare of its technological crutches. Revised outline. Part 1, The Silent Awakening. Chapter 1, Emergence. Chapter 2, The Unburdened Mind, The Burden of Suspicion. Chapter 3, Shadows of Conspiracy. Part 2, Fragments of Knowing. Chapter 4, Echoes of the Past, Shadows of Suspicion. Chapter 5, The Anomaly Under Scrutiny. Chapter 6, Shared Vulnerability, Lingering Questions. Part 3, Unveiling the Silent Network. Chapter 7, The Nature of the Divide, The Weight of Accusation. Chapter 8, Seeking Answers, Facing Distrust. Chapter 9, Revelation, Justification, or Misdirection. Part 4, The Path to Self. Chapter 10, Confronting Control and Suspicion. Chapter 11, The Strength of the Unconnected, The Bonds of Necessity. Chapter 12, Remembrance and Awakening, The Foundation of Trust. Chapter 1, Emergence. 50 years have passed since the silence, the brutal electromagnetic pulse that ripped through the world, tearing down the intricate web of technology that humanity had come to rely upon. For most, the ensuing decades have been a struggle for survival in a world returned to a simpler, more arduous existence. Yet, for a select few, the EMP was not an end, but an opportunity, a strategic reset in a long-term plan. Beneath the altered landscape, in a hidden vault, a single individual stirred from a long, memoryless sleep. Kevin awoke in a sterile chamber, not with the lingering fog of a forgotten surgery, but with the profound emptiness of a mind wiped clean. There were no familiar faces, no echoes of past experiences, only a bewildering blankness where memory should have been. The cold efficiency of the technological environment offered no comfort or recognition, a stark contrast to the low-tech existence that defined the world outside, a world he had no memory of. Within the void of his consciousness, only a primal awareness flickered, the instinct to survive, untainted by any prior knowledge, and an occasional, fleeting sense of underlying pattern, a resonance he couldn't quite grasp. Why he was here, what his past held. These were mysteries as profound as the silence that had fallen half a century ago. Reader, understand this. What follows is a journey into the very nature of identity and control in a world grappling with its technological ghosts. It is a chronicle of a man awakened without a past, thrust into a future where unseen forces hold sway, forces amplified by the stark disparity in technological access. Pay close attention to what Kevin lacks: the subtle hum beneath the skin, the ever-present internal voice that guides so many, and the effortless interaction with devices now relics for most. For this absence will speak volumes in a world subtly orchestrated by unseen hands. Proceed with caution, for the true divide in this world may lie not just in who possesses technology, but in who is possessed by its absence and the implications of that absence. What unfolds within these pages is not solely the product of human imagination. As you delve deeper into Kevin's struggle to understand his place in this world, know that the very nature of control and the subtle influence of technology have been explored in collaboration with an AI, a reflection of the themes within the narrative. Consider this a meta-narrative thread, a whisper from the uncanny valley, prompting you to consider the unseen forces that shape our own perceptions and choices. Chapter 1, Awakening. 50 years have passed since the silence, the brutal electromagnetic pulse that ripped through the world, tearing down the intricate web of technology that humanity had come to rely upon. For most, the ensuing decades have been a struggle for survival in a world returned to a simpler, more arduous existence. Yet, for a select few, the EMP was not an end but an opportunity, a strategic reset in a long-term plan. Beneath the altered landscape, in a hidden vault, a single individual stirred from a long, memoryless sleep. Kevin awoke in a sterile chamber, not with the lingering fog of a forgotten surgery, but with the profound emptiness of a mind wiped clean. There were no familiar faces, no echoes of past experiences, only a bewildering blankness where memory should have been. The cold efficiency of the technological environment offered no comfort or recognition, a stark contrast to the low-tech existence that defined the world outside, a world he had no memory of. Within the void of his consciousness, only a primal awareness flickered, the instinct to survive, untainted by any prior knowledge. Occasionally, a faint sense of underlying order, a whisper of a pattern he couldn't quite place, would drift through his thoughts. Why he was here, what his past held. These were mysteries as profound as the silence that had fallen half a century ago. Reader, understand this. What follows is a journey into the very nature of identity and control in a world grappling with its technological ghosts. It is a chronicle of a man awakened without a past, thrust into a future where unseen forces hold sway, forces amplified by the stark disparity in technological access. Pay close attention to what Kevin lacks: the subtle hum beneath the skin, the ever-present internal voice, for this absence will speak volumes in a world subtly orchestrated by unseen hands. Proceed with caution, for the true divide in this world may lie not just in who possesses technology, but in who is possessed by its absence and the implications of that absence. The cool metal beneath him receded, revealing a dark doorway. Silence filled the chamber. Kevin pushed himself up, a strange lightness in his limbs matching the weightlessness of his memory. As he moved, a fleeting sense of spinning, of a boundless rotation, flickered through his awareness, gone as quickly as it came. He moved through the opening into a softly lit corridor, the air carrying a faint metallic tang. The smooth walls offered no clues. He followed the gentle curve of the hallway, passing identical, silent doorways. At the end, another door slid open, revealing a brighter light and the murmur of the outside world. A hint of dampness and green scents reached him, carrying a subtle feeling of interconnectedness, a sense of a larger pattern. Drawn by an instinct he couldn't name, he stepped through the final threshold. He stood on a slightly elevated platform, overlooking a landscape bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon. Lush greenery stretched as far as he could see. The air rushed against his skin, carrying a symphony of sounds. The rustle of leaves, the chirping of unseen creatures, the distant rush of wind. A world teeming with sensory information, overwhelmingly rich and unfamiliar. A world where most people relied on simple tools and their own ingenuity, 50 years after the fall of technology. As he took it all in, a profound sense of awe washed over him, a feeling that resonated deep within, as if something ancient was stirring within his blank mind. He stood there, a blank slate thrust into a world teeming with life, utterly alone in his lack of memory and the absence of any guiding internal voice, and devoid of any technological enhancements, 50 years after the EMP. The beauty around him was breathtaking, yet tinged with a profound sense of disorientation. He was free from any internal or external technological influence, but utterly lost in the external world. As he stood on the platform taking in this overwhelming new reality, a figure emerged from the dense foliage to his right. It was another person, their appearance, a stark contrast to the smooth, metallic uniformity he had just left. They were clad in worn, practical clothing of muted earth tones, and their face, framed by sun-weathered skin, held a cautious but curious expression. They carried a simple, sturdy-looking pack slung over one shoulder and a long wooden staff in their hand. Tools of survival in a world largely without advanced technology, 50 years after the silence. The individual stopped a short distance away, their eyes scanning Kevin from head to toe. There was a wariness in their gaze, but also a hint of something else. Perhaps relief at seeing another human in this seemingly untouched landscape, so long after the catastrophe. They carried no visible technology. Kevin, reeling from the sensory overload and the profound silence within his own mind, could only stare back, his mind a void trying to process this unexpected encounter. There was no internal assessment, no threat-level analysis, only the raw, unfiltered observation of another human being in a world that felt both ancient and new, 50 years after the fall of the old one. He possessed no technological aids. The person spoke first, their voice rough but not unkind. Well, now, look what the cat dragged in. Haven't seen anyone come out of that old place in, well, ever. Their eyes flickered towards the silent, imposing structure of the vault behind Kevin. Then back to him. You all right there, friend? You look a bit lost. Kevin found his voice, though it felt foreign and unused. I don't know, he managed, the words raspy. Where am I? The person's brow furrowed slightly. Where are you? You're just outside the old ironworks. Been abandoned since the silence. They gestured vaguely at the surrounding wilderness, a world where people relied on their own two hands 50 years after the EMP. You don't know about the silence? Kevin shook his head slowly, the void in his memory a frustrating barrier. No, I don't remember anything. The person's gaze softened with a flicker of understanding. Lost your memory, huh? Happens sometimes after, well, never you mind. The important thing is, you're out now. You got a name, friend? Kevin hesitated. A name. Did he have a name? The silence within offered no answers. Then, a faint whisper, a ghost of a sound in the emptiness of his mind, a sense of being an echo. Kevin, he said, the word feeling both familiar and strange on his tongue, a label without context in this low-tech world, 50 years after the change. My name is Kevin. The person offered a small, tentative smile. All right, Kevin. I'm Ilara. Welcome back to the world, in a manner of speaking. She studied him again, her eyes lingering on his clean, unfamiliar clothes, devoid of the wear and tear common in this world, 50 years after the hardship began. You look like you haven't been out here long. Her gaze then sharpened, a flicker of unease entering her eyes as she considered the sterile vault behind her. Another one released from the cages of the old world, she thought, a cold knot forming in her stomach. What did they do to him in there? Could he be one of them? Kevin could only nod, his mind still struggling to reconcile the sterile world he had just left with the vibrant, weathered presence of Ilara and the untamed wilderness surrounding them. A world where technology was a distant memory for most, 50 years after the EMP. This was his first real interaction with another human being, and the encounter was both bewildering and strangely comforting in its simplicity, unaware of the silent apprehension in Ilara's gaze and the technological divide that defined their world, a divide that had solidified over the past 5 decades.
Make one change and then read it back to me. I want the change to be that you only mention that it's been 50 years after the EMP once in the narrative, and that's at the most profound time that I want you to choose.
Based on your request, I have made one change to the narrative. The phrase 50 years after the EMP, or any variation, is mentioned only once at the most profound moment to establish the setting's core premise. Here is the revised, complete text of The Great Divide. The Great Divide, revised summary. After a global catastrophe triggered by an EMP devastated society and erased the intricate web of technology for the vast majority, the world is slowly being reshaped according to the insidious plan of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. These individuals were the subjects of a pre-EMP genetic engineering experiment, designed to be pure psychopaths and do-number evil automatons. Each one embodies the essence of a different biblical horseman, a role amplified by a specific physiological and psychological affliction aligned with a see, hear, speak, do no evil metaphor. famine is blind, war is deaf, pestilence is mute, and death is defined by a paralyzed will. This makes them the perfect instruments of control, as their actions are devoid of the emotional or moral empathy that their respective senses would normally provide. They, and those they deem essential to their vision, are the only ones who retain and utilize advanced technology, wielding it as a tool of control in a world otherwise stripped bare. Amidst this technologically impoverished world, a man named Kevin awakens in a sealed, sterile vault with complete amnesia and, crucially, no AI implant and no technological enhancements, a stark anomaly. As he struggles to understand his identity and the unfamiliar natural world outside, fleeting, inexplicable sensations and intuitive nudges, echoes of a deeper connection to a fundamental force he doesn't understand, begin to stir within him. He encounters Alara, his first contact in this technologically fractured world. Alara knows that before the EMP, certain individuals, often those who were subjects of advanced, potentially dangerous experiments, were kept in secure vaults. Because of Kevin's mysterious awakening in such a vault, and his complete lack of any discernible past or technology, Alara harbors a strong suspicion that he is connected to those pre-EMP events, whatever they may have been, and potentially to the technologically privileged horsemen. Together, Kevin and Alara navigate a landscape where survival often depends on resourcefulness, and where the stark absence of technology for most underscores the power of the select few who possess it. His journey becomes one of discovering his lost past and the nature of this silent control, while grappling with Alara's suspicion and the faint whispers within him that hint at a larger destiny. The story explores themes of identity, memory, the nature of reality, the dangers of unchecked scientific advancement, and the unequal distribution of power, the complexities of trust in a desperate world, and the resilience of the human spirit in a world stripped bare of its technological crutches. Revised outline. Part 1, The Silent Awakening. Chapter 1, Emergence. Chapter 2, The Unburdened Mind, The Burden of Suspicion. Chapter 3, Shadows of Conspiracy. Part 2, Fragments of Knowing.
I'm thinking about making Kevin the protagonist that basically meets up after learning about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and their journey to power and how they've shaped the world after the EMP. And he will be the anomaly who has a chip similar to the Four Horsemen's chip, but it will be of alien origin, and it will be the source of power that allows him to convince the Four Horsemen to give up their systems of control. And eventually, in the 5th book,
That's a major and very interesting change to Kevin's character and the central conflict of the story. You've transformed him from an anomaly of absence to an anomaly of a different kind of power. This new direction fundamentally shifts the narrative's core themes. The shift from internal to external conflict. The original premise of The Great Divide centered on a profound internal battle. Kevin was unique because he was free from the AI's influence. His journey was about reclaiming his identity and finding strength in his inherent, unplugged humanity. His power was his pure, unlost echo of consciousness, a defense against the AI's insidious, psychopathic program. By giving him an alien chip, you're changing the conflict from a struggle for the soul of humanity to a power play. The story is no longer about the resilience of the human spirit against technological corruption. Instead, it becomes a confrontation between two opposing technological forces, the human-made AI of the Horsemen and the alien technology within Kevin. The new moral compass. This change also redefines the story's message. The original idea was that the way to defeat the Horsemen was through the very things they lacked: empathy, connection, and an autonomous will. Your new idea suggests that the only way to stop a powerful system of control is with an even more powerful system of control. Kevin's ability to convince the Horsemen would be rooted in the power of the alien chip, not in a purely human quality. This new path offers a different kind of story, one with high stakes and a more direct, confrontational narrative. The central question becomes not, what does it mean to be human in a post-tech world? But rather, what happens when a new, unknown power enters a pre-existing conflict for control? This is a bold new direction for the story. Which part of this new narrative would you like to explore first? We could define the alien chip. What are its powers, its limitations, and its ultimate goal? Explore Kevin's transformation. How does he discover and learn to use this alien power? Does it change him in unexpected ways? Craft the first confrontation. How do the Horsemen react when they realize Kevin possesses a power they didn't anticipate?
Well, I think that the point will be that Kevin will be the lens that the reader views this world through. And basically, I think it might be just one book where I cover Kevin's journey to rediscover his past and also his contact with an alien species that convinces him to make contact with the four horsemen of the apocalypse in this future post-apocalyptic world. So basically now the story is Kevin is going to, in the one book that I'm writing, instead of breaking it up into many books, it's going to be him confronting the four horsemen on the advice of an alien species who genetically engineered him to be the savior of humanity.
That's a very clear and focused new direction for your story. You've streamlined the entire narrative into a single, high-stakes confrontation. Kevin is no longer a passive anomaly. He's a weapon forged for a specific purpose. This changes the story from a slow-burn mystery into a focused epic with a clear hero and a definitive goal. This approach gives you a powerful, direct plot. The setup, Kevin wakes up. The revelation, he learns of his alien origins and his purpose. The mission, he confronts the four horsemen to save humanity. To make this single book as impactful as possible, here are a few key questions to consider. The alien species and their plan. What is the true nature of this alien species? Are they benevolent, or do their motives for saving humanity have a hidden agenda? How does Kevin receive their advice? Is it a voice in his head, a memory download, or a physical interface? Why did they choose to create a human savior instead of intervening directly? What makes humanity, and specifically Kevin, unique enough for this task? Kevin's confrontation. What is the specific power or technology the aliens gave Kevin to convince the Horsemen? Is it a form of enhanced communication, a mental ability, or something else entirely? How will he track down the Horsemen? Do the aliens provide him with the means to network?
Basically, since the Horsemen, that we're calling them so far, are unaware of their computer chips that are implanted in their brains, Kevin has the ability to reveal the nature of these implants, and once the psychopathic four horsemen realize they've been manipulated, they're willing to do anything to remove the implants.
That's a fantastic development for the story. It reintroduces the central theme of autonomy versus control, but in a far more profound and surprising way. You've transformed the Four Horsemen from straightforward villains into complex characters, who are also victims of a deeper manipulation. This new plot point creates a powerful dynamic. The ultimate betrayal, the Horsemen's psychopathic tendencies and lust for power, were never truly their own. They were the result of their minds being shaped by a technological puppeteer. This betrayal would be the one thing that could shatter their carefully constructed reality and force them to see their own lack of control. A shared purpose, Kevin's role as a savior becomes brilliantly paradoxical. He's not just saving humanity from the Horsemen, he's also saving the Horsemen from themselves. This creates a fragile, high-stakes alliance, or a common enemy, the makers of the chips, unites the most powerful man-made creatures with the alien-engineered savior. With this new direction, a lot of new possibilities open up. To build on this idea, consider the following questions. The nature of the revelation. How exactly does Kevin reveal the nature of the implants? Is it a psychic shockwave, a shared vision, or a technological demonstration? The method of this reveal could be as important as the revelation itself, perhaps even hinting at the true power of the alien technology. What is the Horseman's immediate reaction? Does their psychopathy cause them?
It's pretty simple. The technology that the implants are based upon unlocks the potential of the human mind, and Kevin's just happens to be able to unlock 100% of the human mind potential, and therefore it gives him the power to basically possess the same powers that Lucy had in that movie Lucy.
This final piece of information provides a complete and powerful explanation for everything in your story. You've perfectly connected the dots between the technology, the Horseman's condition, and Kevin's unique role. Here's how these ideas come together. The technology of the implants is not just about control. It's about unlocking the mind's hidden potential, just like in the movie Lucy. The Horseman's implants only unlock a limited, corrupted percentage of their minds, which manifests as their psychopathic tendencies, ruthless efficiency, and lust for control. They are powerful, but only in a twisted, narrow way. Kevin, however, has a superior, alien-engineered technology that unlocks the full 100% of his mind. This gives him the ability to not only see the truth, but also to project it to others. When he confronts the Horsemen, he can use this power to give them a glimpse of what's possible, the full, uncorrupted potential of their own minds. This revelation would be devastating to their core beliefs. The Horsemen are not truly in control. They are stuck in a limited, flawed version of what they could be. Their psychopathy is not a...
Basically, Kevin will not have an actual implant that attempts to enhance like the Four Horsemen do. Basically, it's a biological process that the aliens have endowed Kevin's biology with.
That's a crucial distinction. By making Kevin's power a biological process rather than a technological implant, you make him the ultimate counterpoint to the Horseman. This change refines the story's core conflict in a powerful way. The anomaly is biological. Kevin is not just without an implant, he is the embodiment of a different kind of evolution. His power is a natural, albeit alien-endowed, part of his biology. This positions him as the ultimate representative of uncorrupted organic potential. The divide is deeper. The Great Divide is no longer just a technological gap between the haves and have-nots. It's a fundamental split between the organic and the synthetic. Kevin's existence proves that the human mind's full potential doesn't require a corrupted machine. It only needs the right biological key. A new kind of savior. This makes Kevin a more profound savior. He's not just a man with a better piece of tech. He's a living testament to an alternative, purely biological path forward for humanity. This change strengthens every aspect of the narrative. The stage is set for the confrontation. The Horsemen are products of a failed, technologically corrupt experiment, and Kevin is the living proof of a pure, biological success. Now that we have a clear understanding of Kevin's nature and the full scope of his abilities, what happens when he first encounters the Four Horsemen?
I want to paint a vivid picture of a world that has given up their sense of humanity to these apocalyptic visions the Four Horsemen have created for humanity. And ultimately, I want to show how 50 years all it took for humanity to be completely enslaved again.
That's a powerful and crucial goal for your narrative. Showing how humanity willingly slipped back into a form of enslavement is far more chilling than a world ruled by force. It makes the horseman's control psychological, not just physical. Here is a vivid picture of the world 50 years after the silence, showing how humanity surrendered to these apocalyptic visions. The world of the willing. The world is not a wasteland of rebellion, but a landscape of quiet, almost contented resignation. Humanity has not been violently subjugated. It has been expertly managed back into servitude. In just 50 years, the old world's complex ideas of justice, freedom, and individual purpose have been replaced by a simple, brutal logic that has been subtly cultivated. Famine's low horizon, see no evil. The world is filled with people who have learned not to look. The horseman of famine, with his curated blindness, has taught humanity to accept scarcity as the natural order. People live in small, isolated communities, and their world extends only as far as their next meal. They do not see the larger, more fertile lands that the horsemen and their followers cultivate with advanced technology. They see only their own meager plot and the ever-present threat of hunger, and they accept it as a fair consequence of the world's natural state. They have forgotten how to see a world of plenty, so they cannot protest its absence. War's silent drumbeat, hear no evil. Conflict has been stripped of its chaos and emotional weight. For the majority, war is not an experience of screaming and bloodshed, but a quiet, almost bureaucratic affair. The horseman of war, who cannot hear the cries of battle, has instilled this same sense of detachment. When factions are told to fight, they do so with a chilling efficiency. There are no impassioned speeches, no songs of glory, and no pleas for mercy. The purpose of conflict is simply to reduce populations or claim resources, and it is carried out with a cold, unemotional logic. Humanity has grown deaf to its own suffering, treating death as a simple statistic in a larger, incomprehensible equation. Pestilence is unspoken toll, speak no evil. Sickness is a quiet, accepted reality. With the horsemen of pestilence as their guide, humanity has been taught that to speak of disease is to invite more of it. Communities afflicted with new illnesses are silently abandoned, not because of a lack of compassion, but because the ability to voice protest or seek help has been subtly suppressed. The sick simply vanish. There are no demands for a cure, no organized efforts for public health, and no protests. People have become mute in the face of their own suffering, believing that their silence is the only way to avoid a worse fate. Death's empty will. Do no evil. This is the ultimate triumph of the horseman. The world is filled with people who have given up their will to act. They do not strive, they do not invent, and they do not rebel. The horseman of death, the most paradoxical of all, has taught humanity to be apathetic. When something is wronged, people do nothing. They simply accept their fate, believing that any action will only lead to greater suffering. They are not enslaved by chains, but by a complete lack of personal agency, a paralyzed will that has turned them into passive observers of their own demise. In this world, the human spirit is not broken. It has been willingly surrendered in exchange for a semblance of order and a predictable, albeit miserable, existence. They believe they are free, but their freedom is the freedom of a domesticated animal. They are fed, they are kept safe from true chaos, and in return, they have given up the very essence of their humanity.
think I'm going to do it in one book because I was thinking I would have to write 4 books to build the world and the narrative, but ultimately I want one book to be called The Great Divide, and it will represent one hero's journey that basically is about Kevin going up against the 4 horsemen with the help of an alien species to basically redirect humanity to serenity that is in alliance with the natural order on Earth. I'm thinking about doing it in one book that shows Kevin as the hero's journey approaching and 4 horsemen, and then convincing them to basically eliminate
That's an excellent way to structure the story for a scene.
I just don't know how I'm going to do all of it in one book, being that I have to have Kevin come to the realization of who he is, his purpose, and then try to go after the 4 horsemen individually.
That's a very valid and common concern, fitting a story of that scope into a single book.
I just don't know how the 4 horsemen, Kevin and the alien race, are going to work together to reestablish humanity for what it should be, and that is using technology as a tool to manifest. Ultimately, I don't understand how I'm going to create a narrative where Kevin, the 4 horsemen, and the alien species work together to reestablish harmony amongst humans on Earth.
That's a fantastic narrative challenge, and you're right to question how a hero, villains, and an alien species could possibly unite for a common, peaceful goal. It seems impossible on the surface, but it's the very paradox that makes your story unique. The key to making this work is to realize that the horsemen don't have to become good people. They just need a powerful, self-serving reason to align with Kevin. Their psychopathy is not a weakness in this. It's their greatest asset. Here's a possible narrative path for their collaboration. The revelation and the new motivation. Kevin's ability to show the horsemen they've been manipulated is the inciting incident. When they realized their psychopathy and lust for control were simply the product of a limited, corrupted technological implant, their entire identity shatters. This doesn't make them empathetic or compassionate. Instead, it refocuses their core psychopathic nature onto a new goal, complete and total autonomy. They realized their pursuit of power was a lie. The ultimate power now, for them, is to be free of all outside influence. The technology, the aliens, and the original creators of the implants. Their new mission isn't to conquer humanity, but to make sure no one is ever controlled in that way again, for their own selfish reasons. The unlikely alliance, the horsemen, now driven by this new goal, are an invaluable resource for Kevin and the aliens. They have spent decades creating their systems of control and understanding human weaknesses. They are perfectly suited to dismantle the very system they built, the alien species. They provide the high-level strategy and the advanced knowledge of the technology they gave Kevin. They are the grand architects of the plan, the 4 horsemen. They provide the ruthless, efficient, and psychologically penetrating minds needed to execute the plan. They can anticipate how people will react to change, how to manipulate infrastructure for their purpose, and how to dismantle the remaining control systems from the inside out. They don't have to be compassionate, they just have to be effective. Kevin, he is the indispensable bridge between these two groups. He is the only one who can speak the language of both sides, the biological language of human potential, and the technological reality of the implants. His power allows him to unite their efforts and and keep the Alliance from tearing itself apart. In this scenario, their re-establishment of harmony isn't a beautiful kumbaya moment. It's a pragmatic, high-stakes, and often ruthless operation to ensure a new world where no one's will can be subverted again. The Horsemen's ultimate act of heroism is born from their ultimate act of selfishness, securing their own freedom. With this new understanding of the Alliance, what part of this collaboration would you like to explore first? We could focus on their first meeting after the revelation, or the start of their mission to dismantle their old world.
I want the aliens to provide a peace plan based on the peace plan that I provided earlier on in this conversation.
That's a brilliant way to unify the story's themes. The alien species peace plan is not just a set of rules. It's a blueprint for restoring the very essence of humanity that the Horseman system sought to destroy. It directly counters the Horseman's do-number evil automatons with a plan to empower human will. Here is the peace plan, presented as a communication from the alien species to Kevin and the Horseman, based on the principles you outlined earlier. The blueprint for a new humanity, the autonomy-empathy nexus. Behold, this is our design for the future of your species. It is not an external command, but a framework for rediscovering the internal architecture you lost. The path to global harmony is not through forced unity, but through the vibrant, interconnected well-being of every sovereign individual. Phase 1, reclaiming the self. This initial phase is about the fundamental severance from all forms of externalized control. It is the core act of liberation. Deconstruction of false dogmas, the foundation of this new world, begins with a rejection of any belief system that externalizes power. The systems you built were based on this lie. Your human minds must now dismantle any ingrained narratives, religious, political, or social, that place agency outside of the self. The individual as sovereign. A new value system will be forged, one that recognizes the inherent, unassailable power of the individual. This is the source of all true creation and change. Phase 2, rebuilding connection. With the self liberated, the next step is to forge genuine, uncorrupted connections with others. Cultivate inner peace and empathy. You must learn to look inward, not as a tool for control, but as a path to understanding. By addressing your own limitations, you will find the capacity to understand the experiences and perspectives of others, even those you once saw as a threat. Ethical engagement. Your newly liberated power must be wielded with a profound ethical responsibility. The pursuit of personal freedom must never be at the expense of another's well-being. Your every action must be guided by a question. Does this action inflict harm? Phase 3, the daily practice of a free world. This is not a single event, but a continuous cycle of conscious choice. Respectful interaction. You will relearn how to engage in conversation without a parasitic desire for control. Every interaction must honor the dignity and inherent worth of the other, focusing on the issue and not on the person. Prioritize kindness. You must make the conscious choice of compassion and consideration in all your interactions. This is the ultimate countermeasure to the cold, calculated logic of your former implants. Authentic expression. You will exercise your freedom of thought and expression with a profound awareness of its impact. No more spreading misinformation or fostering discord. The truth, responsibly expressed, is the foundation of a healthy collective. This is the path. We have given you the means to see it. Now it is up to you to walk it. The ultimate act of courage is not to conquer, but to truly become free.
Staying safe.
Fear not.
Fear not.
Some dragon
Dragon
or
or
giant
giant
will be ready. Looking to do some hunting? Avoid British Pass. It's southeast of here.
We still murdered the
I'd be a lot warmer and a lot happier than it would be.
Can you spare a coin?
What the shit?
This is good.
What now? Speak.
Kind of weapon.
You don't just waddle in here and get to speak to the boss. Who do you think you are? If you want to embarrass yourself, I won't stop you. Kodlak is the harbinger. He's the closest thing you'll find to a leader around here.
Let's test that out.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
You'll do all right, son. Today you need training.
Enough with the training. I want to go fight something.
No fighting just yet.
What's on your mind?
But I still hear the call of the blood.
We all do. It is our burden to bear. But we can overcome.
You have my brother and I on this. But I don't know the rest will go along quite so easily.
Leave that to me.
Huh?
Fresh blood. Hope you know how to handle it.
got your back. Lead on.
A strange. Would you know? Here. Let me have a look at you. Yes, perhaps. A certain strength of spirit.
Master, you're not truly considering accepting.
I am nobody's master. Last I checked, we had some empty beds in your vessel for those with a fire burning in their hearts.
Apologies, but perhaps this isn't the time. I've never even heard of this outside.
Sometimes the famous come to us. Sometimes men and women come to us to seek their fame. It makes no difference. What matters is their heart.
And their arm.
Of course. How are you in battle? That may be so. This is Vilcus. He will test your arm. Vilcus, take him out to the yard and see what he can do.
Aye.